Senator Klobuchar didn't walk into that room to give a routine speech. She walked in carrying a warning, one that could shake the entire system if people were really listening. And the moment she began speaking, the tone shifted instantly. Because this wasn't just another political statement. This was a direct challenge to the power brokers who have spent years keeping secrets buried. And the way she opened made it clear. The truth was finally cornering them. She began by acknowledging survivors like Courtney Wild, only 14, when she says she was pulled into Epstein's world of manipulation. Then she spoke about Danielle Bensky, just 17, a teenager caring for a mother battling a brain tumor when Epstein allegedly targeted her.
Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much, Leader Schumer. Courtney Wild, 14 years old when she was sexually abused by Epstein. Danielle Bensky, 17 years old when Epstein sexually abused her. Her mom had a brain tumor, and he told her that he could help her mom, but only if she abided by his demands, including recruiting other girls. He told her, I can use it to help you, or I can make it really difficult for your mother. As she said recently, it's a call to action. We're standing up for so many victims of sexual assault. As a former prosecutor, I can tell you that's what this is about. It is also about trust. When Donald Trump and the Republicans promised the American people time and time again, whether it was about bringing down costs, not true. Whether it was about making changes that help people, not true. But whether it was about releasing these Epstein files, now we'll find out the truth. Donald Trump knew that there was overwhelming numbers of votes coming in against him, and at that moment, he made the decision that he would say that he wanted the vote to go through. At that moment, when Senator Schumer made the decision to come forward, there was no one who would stand up and say, nope, we shouldn't have them released. And I thank Senator Schumer for doing this. The House discharge petition materialized because there were the votes to override his veto. So now is the moment of truth. One, he has to sign it, but two, and most importantly, when we look at what the Attorney General of the United States, who is running a Justice Department that literally, when Donald Trump orders them by Truth Social or in person to do something, they do it. Drop charges, they'll do it. Pardon their friends, they'll do it. It is literally a snap of their fingers. Make sure that you charge a Federal Reserve governor or the Attorney General of the state of New York or the former FBI director, we're there, we'll do it. That's what's been going on. So right now, we're facing a moment. Because of these faux investigations that she is now claiming are reopening, now we're going to find out, are they really going to release the files or not? And we are ready to stand up for victims like Danielle and so many others in this country.
Danielle said he convinced her he could help her mother, but only if she obeyed his demands, including recruiting other girls. And then came the line that stunned everyone. He told her, I can use it to help you, or I can make it really difficult for your mother. That wasn't just exploitation. That was psychological pressure at its darkest. Danielle later called her story a call to action, and Klobuchar made sure nobody forgot it. She reminded the room that survivors weren't just telling stories. They were demanding accountability that had been ignored for years. But as powerful as those words were, they weren't the real reason everyone leaned in. What came next is what changed everything. She shifted from the survivor's courage to the thing that truly exposes the rot underneath this entire saga. Trust. Not political trust, but public trust. The kind that collapses when leaders make promises they never intended to keep. And she didn't sugarcoat it. She said countless commitments were made to bring down costs, to deliver reforms for regular people, to clean up institutional failures. But none of those promises materialized. And then she talked about the biggest promise of all, the release of the Epstein files. A promise repeated for years. A promise used to convince millions that transparency was finally coming. And yet, delay after delay, excuse after excuse, nothing changed. Until now, because according to her, something snapped the moment leaders realized overwhelming votes were coming in against them. That's when positions shifted. Suddenly, the political winds weren't blowing in their favor, and the commitment they spent years avoiding became a priority. The timing wasn't subtle. They saw the numbers. They saw where the momentum was heading. And at that exact moment, they decided the vote should move forward. Not because they had a change of heart, because they didn't want to be on the losing side of history. It was a survival move, not an act of courage. But once that door opened, something even more unexpected happened. Klobuchar revealed that when Senator Schumer stepped forward, the room fell absolutely silent. Not one person stood up to oppose the push for release. Not one voice pushed back. And that silence said more than any speech could. How could political figures who once resisted transparency suddenly fall quiet? Why did every objection disappear the moment the pressure reached its peak? It raised questions that nobody wanted to answer. Was the opposition ever based on principle, or was it always strategy? But the silence wasn't the only shock. The House managed to pull together a discharge petition, something that only happens when lawmakers from both sides gather enough signatures to force leadership's hand. That only materializes when the support is so overwhelming that resisting it becomes impossible. It also exposed one more thing. There were enough votes to override a veto, no matter whose desk the bill sat on. That meant the usual tactics wouldn't work this time. There was no escape route, no procedural stall, no political maneuvering to hide behind. This time, the momentum was real. Klobuchar called this the moment of truth. Not just for the person expected to sign the bill, but for the entire justice system. She said the first test is simple: sign the legislation. But the second test is the real one. Will the files actually be released, or will new excuses conveniently appear? And that's where she dropped the most explosive part of her speech. She described a Justice Department under an Attorney General who, according to her, acts the moment she's instructed, whether through public statements, behind-the-scenes conversations, or political pressure. She claimed that when allies wanted charges dropped, they were dropped. When someone's friends needed help, they got it. When critics needed to be punished, investigations appeared. Klobuchar framed it like a system operating at the snap of a finger, with decisions flipping instantly based on who was asking. She listed examples of people allegedly targeted or protected depending on their relationship with those in power: Federal Reserve officials, state attorneys general, even former agency heads. In her framing, this wasn't a Justice Department acting independently. This was a system bending under pressure. Now, all eyes are on the Attorney General once again, because she announced that certain investigations, ones many believed were settled or abandoned, were suddenly being reopened. Klobuchar called them faux investigations, implying they were more about optics than truth. But the question she left hanging in the air was the one nobody wants to answer out loud. Are these reopenings genuine, or are they a tactic to delay the release of the Epstein files all over again? The tension here isn't just political, it's emotional. Survivors like Danielle and Courtney have waited their entire adult lives for transparency. The public has been promised clarity for years. Leaders have used the promise of disclosure as a tool to rally support, calm outrage, and deflect criticism. And now, right at the moment when release is within reach, the Justice Department claims it must re-review information. Is that coincidence or strategy? Klobuchar said she and others are ready to stand up for survivors like Danielle and so many others. But the challenge now isn't gathering votes. Those already materialized. The challenge is forcing action from a system that has avoided accountability at every turn. This is where everything converges. You have survivors demanding justice. You have lawmakers forced into corners by public pressure. You have agencies accused of bending to political influence. And you have files that could expose people with more power than most of us can imagine. That combination creates a pressure cooker Washington has rarely experienced, which is exactly why the tension feels so heavy. Because what happens if the files are released? That question is haunting everyone involved. Reports have suggested for years that the contents could touch business leaders, foreign figures, household names, and individuals who've spent their entire lives insulated from consequences. Some believe the release could trigger one of the biggest scandals in modern political history. Others insist the files are exaggerated, incomplete, or will reveal far less than the public expects. But either way, the uncertainty alone is powerful enough to make institutions uncomfortable, and Klobuchar's speech made one thing crystal clear. Whatever is in those files, someone has fought very hard to keep them out of public view. Survivors have been ignored, advocates have been stonewalled, lawmakers have been misled, and procedural delays have been stretched beyond reason. Yet here we are, closer to release than ever before. The real question now is not whether the bill will be signed. That part is expected. The real question is whether the release will be complete, transparent, and unedited, or whether it will come with redactions, gaps, or ongoing investigation, labels that conveniently hide the most sensitive names. Because if history has shown anything, it's that when powerful people are involved, ongoing investigations can last forever. And that's what Klobuchar was warning the country about. Not the signing of a bill, not the spectacle of a vote, but the possibility that despite all this momentum, the truth could still be diluted, delayed, or disguised. She was pointing out the exact place where the system could break again. But here's the part nobody can deny. The pressure is higher than ever. Survivors are louder. Lawmakers are cornered. The public is watching. And every delay, every excuse, every questionable move only adds more fuel to a fire that's already burning hot. If the files are released in full, this moment becomes a turning point for victims who have waited years to be believed. If they aren't, then everything that happened, the votes, the speeches, the promises, will be remembered as another chapter in a long history of institutions protecting themselves instead of the people they claim to serve. Either way, the truth is nearing the surface. And once it's close enough for people to sense it, it becomes almost impossible to bury again. So now, all anyone can do is watch the clock. The signature, the announcement, the release. Each step will be dissected, questioned, and scrutinized. Because this time, the country isn't distracted. It isn't looking away. It's waiting. And the people who've held these secrets for years know it, that if you want to stay updated on every part of this unfolding story, from the survivors' voices to the political maneuvering to the final release, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Tap the like button so more people see this, and let me know in the comments what you think the files will reveal. This story is only getting started.